So let's jump right into our lead story regarding a fatal police shooting that took place in Akron, Ohio. Now, what took place was an individual named Jayland Walker, age 25, a black DoorDash driver, decided it was a good idea at 12:30 a.m. on June 27th to lead police in a pursuit. Now, during this chase, he decided it was a good idea to shoot at the police as well. We got body cam footage. We're going to show you and get into everything you need to know about this in today's episode. So shoots at them, continues the pursuit, decides to kind of pull over somewhat, put on a ski mask or already have it on, it's unclear, getting out of the passenger side of the vehicle and then running. And while he was running, the police tried to tase him and obviously it failed. And then he turns around, faces police officers, reaches in his waistband, and that's when police shoot him because they felt like their lives were in danger. And they didn't just shoot him once, they shot him 60 times. The police chief himself said this, that the video showed Walker appearing to reach for something at his waist and turn as he ran, prompting the police to fire. So obviously there's everybody up in a hubbub about this and a roar because, again, a black person died from the hands of police once again. So they can't wait for the evidence to come out. They got to take to the streets as always and protest. Well, we have the body cam footage coming out here from the Akron Police Department, and they kind of do a great job here of describing what took place before the shooting and then taking place of what actually happened during the shooting as well. Let's go ahead and roll this and watch this together.
On Monday, June 27, 2022, at 12:30 in the morning, Akron police officers attempted to stop a silver Buick on East Talmadge Avenue near Thayer Street. Officers informed dispatch that the reason for the stop was for a traffic violation as well as an equipment violation. The driver of the vehicle refused to stop, and officers initiated a vehicle pursuit as the vehicle was nearing the East Talmadge Avenue entrance ramp to Route 8 southbound. Approximately 40 seconds after the driver of the vehicle fled from the attempted stop, a sound consistent with a gunshot can be heard on the body-worn cameras of the officers. Officers notified dispatch that a shot came out of the suspect's car door.
Getting onto 8 South of Talmadge, reason for stop was traffic and equipment violation.
There's the shot.
All cars. In effect.
21 shots fired. That vehicle just had a shot come out of its door.
At the time of the sound, a flash of light can be seen along the driver's side of the suspect vehicle.
So if you're listening to this, they have different cameras set up here that are showing us basically from like a freeway or highway video of the pursuit, and you can clearly see a muzzle flash from the vehicle. Unless he's shining a camera and taking a photo, that looks like a flash from a firearm. Even the pop that we heard sounds like a gunshot.
The
and
vehicle
police clearly
pursuit
said, hey,
continued
we
on the
just got shot
expressway
at.
for several minutes, and the suspect vehicle exited onto the Archwood Avenue ramp. The pursuit proceeded through several city streets until he neared the intersection of East Wilbeth Road and Claremont Street. At that point, the driver slowed down and exited through the passenger side door of the moving vehicle wearing a ski mask.
Why would you be wearing a ski mask at 12:30 a.m.? There it is. Shows him getting... The car's still moving, by the way. When you see this footage, the car is still moving.
The suspect fled from the vehicle on foot, turning and facing officers momentarily. He continued to run, evading arrest. Officers attempted to safely take the suspect into custody by deploying their tasers.
And it shows a screenshot of the taser from one police officer's body cam being deployed.
The deployment of tasers was unsuccessful, and the suspect continued to flee on foot. As the foot chase reached the nearby parking lot, the suspect stopped and quickly turned towards the pursuing officers.
And now it's showing body cam footage again. Not footage, but a photo of the body cam of turning around facing the officers. Looks like he's reaching his waistband to me. Hands are at the hip. They're just going through different images here.
Officers reacted by discharging their firearms, striking the suspect. Under visual inspection of the suspect's vehicle, a handgun, a loaded magazine for a handgun, and what appears to be a gold wedding ring were observed in plain view on the driver's seat.
And they're showing an image of it. It looks like a Glock, maybe a Gen 3, I believe a 9mm. I'm going to pause it really quick on it. I think it's a 19. It doesn't look like a 17. Maybe somebody can correct me on it. Regardless, it's there. It isn't breaking the law in Ohio to carry a firearm without having a concealed carry permit. They got rid of that. I think it was like June 13th or something of this year. So it is legal to have it. But there are certain requirements that they expect of you in a handbook to go over when you're transporting a firearm in a vehicle and what's expected of you when you're pulled over by police, which we'll go over after this. Hold on a second. I actually didn't notice this the first time. There is an empty shell casing right next to it. Am I not right? Yeah. That looks like an empty shell casing right next to the firearm that would have been found in the vehicle. Did not notice that until just now. I saw it when I was preparing for this episode. Or excuse me, I didn't see it when I was preparing for this episode. I am seeing it now, which would go along with the story of actual gunfire taking place out of the vehicle at police officers during the chase.
Body-worn cameras do not provide a 360-degree or three-dimensional view. We will now play 13 body-worn camera videos.
We're going to show one here on the Bald Brad Show. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to see all the other ones.
602 on West on Wilbur Firestone. Can I get in?
We're still westbound Wilbeth. We're passing Evergreen. We're heading towards Maine. Looks like we have some units up ahead at the intersection of Maine. He's slowing down here, slowing down. Stop. It's your fucking head! It's your fucking head! Did you fucking move the car?
So the car's still moving.
You fucking move!
And he's still in the car. Still in the car.
Don't fucking
Telling him to
move!
move. They're telling him, don't move. They're giving him all sorts of signals here of what to do. Obviously, he's not listening, as you can imagine. The car's still rolling as if you have it in neutral and you try to stop or something like that. At this point, he's going to get out of the passenger side vehicle with a ski mask on, and then also, ultimately, as you can imagine, get shot.
Fucking move! Show your hand! Show me your fucking hand!
So he's running from police now. A lot of police. Looks like 6 or 7 of them. All right. And we'll end it there just because obviously YouTube is going to get crazy, and it is sad to see an individual pass away. But a lot of commands not listening. And we've seen this time and time again on the Bald Brad Show. And I'm not saying a traffic stop is deserving of somebody being shot, okay? But there's a lot of things that led up to this individual being shot. And what you're going to hear from these protesters out in the streets during this week is, we want justice. We want justice for Jayland and all these things. We want certain things to happen to the police department, but at no point will they ever talk about what Jayland did wrong and what he should have done. It's all the police officer's fault. That's my only problem, is if we're going to put the blame on somebody, we should put the blame on kind of both parties, Jayland and the police officers, regarding what they did wrong. And as you can imagine, there's an investigation of this. Now, it's not just that, but the mother and, there is no father on this one, which I guess there's a correlation to be made regarding these police shootings. It always seems like there's never any father in the picture. And a lot of these individuals that commit these types of crimes, the father's never around. So there's a correlation to be made, but the Democrats, the progressive left, don't want to ever talk about that either. And that also goes in the correlation with the mass shootings too. So here's the mother crying, and rightfully so. Look, if you had a son or daughter that passed away, regardless of who they were and the crimes they committed, it's still sad. Okay, it's still sad. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Just profoundly sad. That's all I can say. I have never been so sad in my life, and I wouldn't wish this feeling on anybody. It's a bad place to be. It's a really bad place to be.
It's terrible.
Someone who doesn't have a history of any kind, no bad blood in them. When we all leave here today, he's not there. You can't turn back.
So that's what the family had to say. There's more too. You can get other footage of what they say about it. Clearly the mother's upset. And like I said, rightfully so. Her son passed away. That's terrible. I did look up. The information I could find as of right now was he doesn't have a criminal record. I think the most thing he has is a traffic ticket. And like I said, he was allowed to carry a firearm per Ohio law. But it says here, and this comes from the Attorney General of Ohio's handbook in terms of what you should do when you're transporting a firearm. So transporting motor vehicles, it says this: you may transport a loaded concealed handgun in a motor vehicle, but are not permitted to do so if you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, which we don't know if he was or wasn't as of right now. Motorcycles fall under the definition of motorcycle vehicles. Thus, the same requirement applies to those who carry a handgun while on a motorcycle. Now, traffic stops and other law enforcement encounters. This incorporates him because they tried to perform just a normal traffic stop. And like I said, and you saw, he decided to run from police, which never is a good thing. If you are stopped from a law enforcement purpose or for law enforcement purpose and carrying a concealed handgun, you are no longer required to inform the officer that you are carrying. I'm sure the police officers love that, right? You don't have to tell them that you actually have a firearm on you. However, if the officer asks whether you are carrying, you must answer truthfully. Even if the officer doesn't ask if you are carrying a firearm, be forthright about it. Enhances safety for you and the officer. If in a vehicle, you shall remain in the vehicle with hands in plain sight at all times. When they were telling him to get out of the vehicle while it was still rolling with a ski mask on, he's trying to get out of the passenger side or do whatever the hell he's doing in the vehicle. Did he put his hands up? Not that I saw. I saw in the back window, just like all of you, never saw his hands up. While he's running, never saw his hands up. I saw him reach into a waistband, but I didn't see hands up. Furthermore, it says this: for violating this section of the law is a first-degree misdemeanor, and it goes on to kind of detail out what you need to do. But this is the part that I want to go over, the warning sign of this. A handgun should always be carried safely and securely. It should be carried so it is not accessible to unauthorized persons. If you are a CHL holder and planning to carry a concealed handgun while driving, you no longer are required to carry the license, but it is still a good idea to have a form of government-issued ID. This is good advice for permitless carriers too. In summary, if you are pulled over while carrying a concealed handgun, remember the following. Before the officer approaches, roll down your window and place your hands in plain view on the steering wheel. Did he do that? No. Did he even pull over? No. What did he do? He decided to evade police officers, which, by the way, something that wasn't included in this, he was pulled over before the day prior and evaded police as well. So getting pulled over again, leading them on a chase, not rolling down his window and placing his hands out in plain view, but shooting police officers, shooting at them. And then not putting his hands up, not putting his hands on the steering wheel, not pulling over once again, but leading them on a foot chase and then grabbing stuff in his waistband that obviously led to his death. If the officer asks whether you have a gun, answer truthfully. They didn't even have an opportunity to ask the man. The only way they figured he might have had a gun was because what? They were shot at. Because they were shot at. But it's all the police's fault, right? They don't want to go home to their family. They don't have wives and kids that they want to see grow up and graduate and get married and all those things. No. It's all their fault, right? They're supposed to do everything in a split second. They were just fired upon. Everybody knew they were fired upon. Clearly, this guy has a weapon on him. Who knows if he has a weapon or not while running from police officers? It's a fraction of a second that you have to make a decision whether this guy's going to shoot you in the face or not, or anywhere on the body. Hopefully he would miss if he did shoot at you, but you shot him dead because you want to go home at the end of the day. If he wanted to go home at the end of the day, he should have not done what he did. He should have pulled over, put his hands on the steering wheel or put them in plain view. When some police officers approached, hey, I got a firearm. It's a Glock 9mm. This is where it's at. All these things. Didn't want to do any of that. Any of that. Do not or attempt to touch your handgun unless specifically told by the officer, which he violated. Do not exit your vehicle unless specifically told by the officer, which he violated. Comply with all lawful orders given by the officer, which he violated. So again, you could go down this list. You could go through the whole handbook here. But again, the parents are shocked about all this. How could he possibly do this? And all up in arms over the whole thing, which, again, rightfully so up in arms about it as far as the mother, because her son just died. But when you have this Black Lives Matter organization coming out, taking to the streets in Akron, Ohio, creating a bunch of hubbub without actually just waiting for all the evidence to come out to see what took place. I'm not going out going, oh, this person deserved to die. They deserve to be shot 60 times, all these things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm merely presenting the evidence as what we have now. He clearly violated a lot of things. He clearly did not do what he was supposed to do. He clearly was acting strange at 12:30 a.m. with a ski mask on and a firearm in the car as just a DoorDash driver. Sounds a little weird to me, but I'm going to hold off on full-fledged opinion and seeing if it was a just shoot or not, because I don't have all the information from the police officers and all those things. What I can say what they did was right after the shooting, they separated, I think it was 13 officers, 9 to 13, somewhere in that range. They separated them all. They were watched, so they could not coordinate what they were going to say about one another, about what took place. They all had the same exact story of what happened. Same exact story. So none of them were lying. And if you watch the body cam footage, again, I don't want to show it because of YouTube. When he turns around, every single one of them at the exact moment spread out. They flocked out away from each other like a balloon, pulled their firearms all at the exact same time, and fired at the exact same time, which shows that all of them felt like their lives were in danger. They all had the same instinct that something bad was about to happen. And so they all fired at the same time. It's not like, oh, one person took their gun out and fired, and then like 5-6 seconds later, some guy's like, oh, I should start firing too. Everybody had the exact same feeling from their training, from what they've seen and experienced. So they shot him 60 times. I'm going to wait till all the evidence comes out to see if it's a just shoot. As of right now, 60 times seems a little bit meh to me. But from what I was told, he was squirming on the ground, which you are going to squirm once you start getting shot about 60 times. But you don't know if the person's still going to reach in the waistband. Now, why is that important? When somebody's hopped up on drugs like PCP, I have a friend that's a police officer, told me this story years ago. They shot a guy over 20 times, and he was still coming at them. So when somebody's hopped up on something, just because you shoot them 20 times doesn't mean that they're going to stop. They'll keep going for a good while. So just take that in mind when somebody's being shot at. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.